Hey everybody, glad you're here. Hope you're enjoying all of this extra time you have to spend time with family. Are you getting into a rhythm with your life? Maybe some of you are still working, and I commend you if you are. Maybe you're working from home, or maybe you got a lot of time in your hands. You sort of got to get into some kind of rhythm with our lives as we wait for us, wait for whatever we're waiting for, the eventual end of this crisis. All right, so I just want to get everything set up here so we can get into our questions and answers. A couple of things. I want to dedicate this live broadcast today to somebody who I learned just passed away yesterday, Dave Budgell, a former TV director for BC TV Global, who I worked with when I was doing live TV for many years here in Vancouver. Was out cycling and had a heart attack, not COVID-19 related, but terrible. Retired not too many years ago, and just a horrible situation, especially for his wife and kids and grandkids through all of this. All right, so this is for you, Dave. Want to let you know about Car Cost Canada. Sign up using the promo code MOTORMOUTH and become an expert member. It opens up all kinds of extra searches for you when you want to start searching for a new car. And the reason that I bring it up, there's going to be all kinds of incentives and discounts and deals on new cars that you might not be aware of. Maybe you haven't seen them advertised on TV or online or wherever you, but when you start looking for this, you really need to do the information and the research. There'll be kind of hidden discounts, interest rate reductions, all kinds of incentives, and also what the dealer paid for the vehicle. Now, in this time, somebody actually emailed me from a Toyota dealership in Winnipeg and said, listen, Zach, tell people who are out shopping for a car right now not to kill us too much on the price of a new car because we got to make a living. And granted, Car Cost Canada is going to give you what the dealer paid for the car. It's going to give you all of those incentives and rebates, and then you can negotiate a price with them. They have to make a living. The guy's got to pay the bills to keep the lights on. The salesperson has to feed his or her kids. So go in there and get a good deal, but keep that in mind. All right, what's happening in the car industry? I read a report today. Japan slowly coming back online with their car manufacturing, China and South Korea as well. So even though a lot of production is shut down, or all production is shut down in North America and throughout Europe, other parts of the world are going to be creating content in cars that will eventually have to be coming to market. Okay, let's get into the live stream here and see what's going on. Eric V. Hey, Zach, imagine Jay Leno gave you a chance to use one of his cars for a week to travel across North America. Which car would you choose? Who is riding shotgun? Favorite snack for a long drive? Well, my favorite snack for a long drive, easily potato chips. Love potato chips. And Jay Leno's cars, I can't remember exactly what year it is, but he has done many videos on this. It's the first car that he bought as a collector was his old, I think it's a 50s Buick, and he's done a resto mod on it. It's got a great big supercharged engine in there. I would take that one because my first car when I was a teenager was a 1949 Buick. Believe it or not, I know I'm not that old, but my dad and I bought it and had all these great ideas of doing a restoration on it. And Jay Leno's first car was an old Buick as well, so that would probably be it. He's got lots of great cars, but I'd choose that one. And who would I take with me? I'd take Jay Leno, because he probably knows people all across the country with some cool cars you could visit. Hey, Ryan says, hey, Zach, just passing time. Besides live chats, what are you doing to pass your time? Well, I've been doing a lot of home projects. I've been shooting, doing the weekly video that you get here. So today I shot a little bit of the Kia Niro electric. So I did some of the exterior shots on that. We'll do some more shooting during the week. I have cleaned and power washed my deck. I have taken down a dead plum tree in my backyard. I have, what else have I done? I made a gate for my deck so my dog can't get into the backyard. I painted my son's room. I've done a lot of little projects, so that's what I'm doing. A little project here and there. Got some gardening to do as well, done that as well. I've already, for those that are not aware, here on the West Coast, yeah, I've already cut my grass a couple of times. You don't do that in the East just yet. Which model year car in a certain generation to get? Their first model years in a certain generation, last model year in a generation, and model years before the end of a facelift. I would say probably the last year of a certain generation of vehicle is probably the one that is the most reliable. Because if you consider a brand is doing incremental updates to the vehicle, they're getting information back from the marketplace on warranty repairs. Maybe it's something with the air conditioner or the transmission or whatever sort of faulty part keeps bubbling up under warranty. You would hope that they would repair that as they continue production. So you would hope that the very last year of production would be the one that it's all sorted out. But I'll give you a big asterisk next to that. I bought the very last year, the very last month of production of the BMW E38 7 Series. Okay, so I had a 740i S, the silver one with the M parallel wheels, the same car they used. I don't know what James Bond movie it was. They had it in the James Bond movie. I had that. It was a great car, beautiful car. However, it was riddled with all kinds of electronic gremlins, and I bought it last month of production, very last year of production in 2001, and it was a gong show from the word go. Until the point my wife phoned me up one day and said, I don't want to see this car ever again. So I had to go out and lease, I think, the next week, an X5, which was a great car. All right, so I would suggest as late as you can in the production run. I would lease a model after facelift and buy and keep the last model year. Yeah, that's probably not a bad way to go. If you consider a facelift for many brands, it's just that. They're just changing sort of headlamps, bumpers, stuff like that. So it's an incremental update, meaning it looks newer, and then you can keep that for longer. But the very last year is what I suggest. Thinking of selling my 2011 Outback, 114,000 kilometers, have a few very minor paint scrapes and dents. Should I get them fixed at a detailing shop or just sell it? It's really good. Like I have done this many times. You can get people to do the work at your house if there's mobile dent removal places, there's mobile touch-up places, there's places that do detailing that'll come to your house, even repair seats that are scratched if they're leather on the inside. It is a good idea to take some money and take it to a detail shop or a dent removal place or whatever and get it looking its best. Here's the thing is, I have done this with all of my cars. I'm a bit anal with my cars. Whenever I sell my car, when you come to wherever I meet you to show you that car, there's not a person that goes, well, you know, it doesn't look that good. They all go, wow, this car looks amazing. My neighbors will joke and say, you know, your car always looks like it's perfectly clean. I look after my cars. I have always gotten top dollar for my cars because they look good. Invest some money in your car, get the small repairs done. You will get way more money for your car if it presents well. The analogy I always use is if you're going to buy a house and you pull up in front of the house and the front steps haven't been painted and the letter box is sort of hanging off to one side, you're thinking to yourself, why would I buy this? It hasn't even been looked after. If everything's perfect, there's flowers in the flower bed, the front steps are painted, that realtor gets more money for that house. Same thing for your car. Hey Zach, the Dodge Power Wagon was used in World War II and built to last forever. And now Dodge has a poor reputation for reliability. What changed? Well, Richie Rich, it's only 70 years since you're talking about a World War II Power Wagon and a new vehicle, and I'm not exactly confident that they have such a poor reliability record. FCA has been bringing the quality of their vehicles up over the last couple of years, and I would have to look into the specifics of that particular model. But yeah, I mean, comparing a 70-year-old vehicle with a new one, what are you going to say about that? Big Pizza Pie. Okay, so DJ Pleasure Seeking Missile is my favorite handle that we get on here on a regular basis. Huge Haggis is my second favorite. And Big Pizza Pie, I'm not saying you're third, but that is a good handle. Hey, Zach, how are you? Hope you and your family are staying safe. Wristwatch check. Any news on a new MDX? Wristwatch check. I have my, what am I even wearing? I'm wearing my Zodiac Seawolf on today. I'm really enjoying this watch. It's one of the cheapest watches that I have, but one I'm really enjoying. MDX is going to be coming. I drove by an Acura dealer the other day, and they had a huge. They had an MDX with white letters down the side. I think it was like $6,000 or $7,000 off. I can tell you how much. Go to carcostcanada.com and look it up. What you're going to start to see is if there is a plan for a new MDX, and it is coming, but I haven't got any sort of real timeline for you on that. You will start to see them selling down the inventory of the old one, okay, before they release a new one. But there will be one coming. John says, hey, Zach, was wondering if you recommend getting rust proofing done at your dealership when you buy your new vehicle. I do not. I talked about this last time. There's all of that stuff that the dealer tries to sell you. Dealers don't like when I talk about this. It's just another upsell for you to get you to spend your money. There are a couple of things that might be worth your money, and I'll talk about those in a moment. You can get rust proofing done outside of the dealership, often for less. You can get paint protection for your car. You can get interior fabric protection for your vehicle. A lot of the stuff the dealer will try to sell you, you can get outside. All you need to do is look on the internet and find, what are you looking for again? Rust proofing. And in Canada, there's two that I recommend, which are Crown and Rust Check. Those are the best rust proofing companies in the Canadian market. A lot of the dealer stuff, they just spray some kind of oil on the bottom, one time only. Do not get the thick rubbery stuff that they spray on. Do not get that on your car, because water can get actually underneath there and then never be removed. So if you're really worried about rust proofing, Crown and Rust Check are the best to go to. And also other things at the dealer that might be worthwhile. You might be wear and tear protection package. If you are planning on selling the car later, they can get things like scratches and dents and wheel and curb protection. That might be worth it. A tire warranty and wheel warranty, maybe another, to make sure your wheels don't get all wrecked. There you go. What are your thoughts on the Model Y, Zach? Loving these Q&As. Well, I think that the bad timing for Tesla coming to market with that product just now, just getting it rolling, and then they have to stop production. So I don't really know. I haven't seen one yet. I've only seen pictures of it. So that's all I can say. We have a super chat here. Our German cars. This is from Gladi02. By the way, if you want to support the channel, you can pay for a super chat as well. Donate directly to the channel. That's good. Also, I asked a question a couple of weeks ago about Patreon. And I have set up a Patreon page for the channel. After this is done, I'll put it in the description, okay? You can actually get one-on-one buying advice from me. So there's $5 per month, $15 per month, and $150 one time to get communication with me via email and phone calls. If you're buying a car and you want some Zach advice, I'm here to help. All right, so Gladio2 says, are German cars as reliable as people think? I'd love a used Arteon, but my friends and family think the car will be a worthless money pit. Are they as unreliable as people think? I don't think they're as unreliable as people think. I think that you have to go in with your eyes wide open. You are not buying a Toyota or a Lexus where you just basically get it serviced and put gas in it and that's it. There is more to it than that. You have to maintain the vehicles properly. And here's the thing is, your friends and family don't want you to get an Arteon, but I would suggest an Arteon is a fine car. It comes with a 4-year warranty. At the end of the 4 years, you can get it qualifying for a certified pre-owned warranty and extend that warranty out to 6 years. And that's the way I suggest people buy German cars if you've never owned one. Okay, if you think, I'm not sure, I don't really want to risk it, you can get extra warranty coverage for your car, okay? So that's what I always suggest. Another way to do it is to lease. Lease the car for 3 years. It's fully under warranty. I call it the long-term test drive. After 3 years, if you've enjoyed the car, there's been 0 issues with it, it's working fine, you can then buy it and then keep it. And the great thing about leasing a vehicle is when you buy it out at the end of the lease, then it qualifies for that certified pre-owned warranty I mentioned, and then you can be covered up to 6 years. So if you're worried about buying a German car and you're a first-time German car buyer, and I've owned plenty of German cars, mostly buy and own German cars. I've had Toyotas and Chevrolets, but mostly German cars. That's the way to do it, okay? So if you like the car and you don't want to listen to your family any longer, lease it to try it, and then buy it if it's been good and keep it under warranty. Ba-dum-bum. Do you think there is too much of a risk to importing a Tesla in a country without Tesla service? Yeah. I mean, how are you going to get it fixed? Hello? It's not exactly like there's a Tesla repair shop on every corner like a Chevy dealer or a Ford dealer. You know, there's a reason why people in some countries buy, you know, very mass appeal cars, because there's loads of parts and service available for them. A perfect example is the most popular car of all time is the Toyota Corolla, sold around the world because there's lots of Toyota Corollas in the world and you can get parts for them. So I wouldn't recommend it. What do you think of the Honda CRZ or CRZ? It seemed really ahead of its time. It was a fun car to drive. If you're not aware, the CRZ or the CRZ was a two-door hatchback. It was a hybrid, and it was available with a manual transmission, which was so cool. And, you know, kind of Prius-like, but not really at the same time. The car really was fitting into a market where there really wasn't much one to start with. And we're talking about small two-door hatchbacks. Then you get into it being a hybrid. At the time when they brought that car out, Toyota was just absolutely dominating with the Prius line of hybrid vehicles. And they didn't have a straight gasoline version of it. What they were trying to do is recapture the CRX, that car from the 80s, the little hot hatch that was so fun to drive. One of my oldest buddies, Howard Kogan, lives in LA, but when he and I worked together in London, Ontario, he had one of the very first CRX SIs, black, beautiful little car. So if they had brought out the CRZ hybrid, but also just brought out a gas version, I think it would have done better. Hey, Josh is here. Nice to see you, Josh. Josh is always a big fan of the channel, always very supportive. All right, Bruno says, hey, Zach, I'm thinking of buying a GT car with a unusable, I think is what you're trying to say, rear seat. What are your thoughts on a Maserati Gran Turismo MC? Cheers. Bruno, to be honest with you, I don't know enough about that car. I don't like the looks of it. I mean, if you like it, the thing is, what I will tell you about Maserati cars is that they depreciate very quickly because there are reliability concerns and maintenance issues about what it costs to keep them running. So just go into it with your eyes wide open. There are lots of GT Gran Turismos with, I think you're saying, oh, usable rear seat. I'm not unusable. With usable rear seat, I'm trying to think of one that might be a 6 Series BMW might be something to consider, but same thing again, huge maintenance cost to keep it running. That's all I can say about that car. What are your thoughts on the RLX? The RLX is a real technology showcase. I mean, this car is just basically the same technology you get in the NSX, which is gasoline 6-cylinder and an all-wheel drive system done by hybrid. With the NSX, they just switch it around. The hybrid system powers the electric system powers the front wheels, and the gas engine the rear wheels. In the RLX, it's the other way around. So it's really high tech. Same thing, talking about the Maserati, the question before, a huge depreciation on these things, and nobody is lining up to buy them. So I bet you if you're looking for one that's a couple of years old, even though they didn't sell that many of them, I don't think there's a long line of people that want them. So yeah, it's the RL generally has been a great used car buy because so few people wanted them that you could buy a pretty reliable big car for pennies on the dollar. Hey Zach, what do you think of the 2020 WRX CVT as a fun family car? Are there any other sedans with 200 horsepower around the same price that you would recommend? Audi A3. Yeah, A3 is a great car. The WRX with the CVT is surprisingly good. The issue you have with the WRX now is that the car is quite old, and when you get in it and you drive it, it feels kind of old. So that's not 200, yeah, 200 plus horsepower, same sort of thing. Off the top of my head, I'm trying to think of something that would be worthwhile. I'm sure there's people screaming at the computer right now. Maybe send me another note farther down with some others you would consider. An A3 is fine. What about for a family car, not a sedan, but a Golf R would be good. That's almost 300 horsepower. All right. Young Baller 360. How would you compare the Cayenne's interior to its other German competitors? Well, build quality, certainly. I don't think there's many that can compete when it comes to the way it's put together. I think Porsche, that's its one strength, is they know how to put together first-rate cars. In my opinion, they're sort of at the top of the mountain when it comes to reliability of these things. I would say that the glass panel in the center where the shifter is located, I'm not a big fan of that. I prefer the previous generation, the one I have with all the switches. Now I'm kind of not in the majority, I think. Most people really like that glass panel. The huge display is quite good. I think that the new Mercedes-Benz interior with the MBUX system is really good. A lot of people don't like the way that it looks like that whole panel is just stuck on the dashboard. So that is something to consider. The BMW X5 has been criticized by me and others as not changing enough, but I think that it is the most useful when it comes to the ergonomics and the iDrive system. So there's nothing wrong with it. They're all just variations on the same kind of theme. But when it comes to interior fit and finish, Cayenne is really first rate. You love cars, but what is the car that you can't stand driving? There's a lot of like underpowered hybrid cars that are not really that fun to drive. It comes down to you have to always put on your reviewer hat and say, hey, this isn't for me, but some people like it. Like typically I don't love driving cars with CVTs. Some of them are getting quite good. Like I think the new chain-driven system that they have with the Hyundai and Kia cars, that's not bad. But some CVTs are just, I don't know. I always think to myself, there's got to be a better way. And I think the better way are more, cogged transmission gears, like, 8, 9, and 10 speeds even. So any that I really dislike driving, off the top of my head, no, but typically they're CVTs. I'm Crazy says, hey Zach, have you had a chance to drive the CX-5 diesel? What are your impressions? It's fine. There is a review on the channel. Go and have a look. My impressions of it, I did 2 reviews actually. I went to the launch, not this past summer, the summer before. Was it this past summer? Anyway, I drove it recently in Ontario, and then I had it and I did a mileage run up to Whistler and back in it. I think it's good. It isn't great. And the thing is, it's not delivering the kind of fuel economy you would expect from a diesel. This thing is being emissioned to death, and that's the fault of pretty much all of the German brands when it comes to cheating when it came to diesel emissions. And now it took forever to get the emissions done on the CX-5 diesel. They promised it years ago, and then they finally got it to market. The car is overpriced. It's the perfect car for somebody that drives a lot. And there are people that drive, 40, 50, 60,000 kilometers a year. They're on the highway all the time. They're doing long distance driving. If that's you, like you're in a sales capacity and you do a lot of driving, a diesel would be perfect for you. The other one is the Chevy Equinox or the GMC Terrain diesel, the 1.5 liter. So I liked it. I didn't love it. And maybe they're going to be giving some big discounts on it. Once again, go to carcostcanada.com to find out. While the new Mazda CX-30 is good and compelling compact CUV, since its launch up until a few weeks ago, it hasn't been selling well across Canada Mazda dealers. Why do you think it is? Well, these things have to get into the marketplace and be seen on the road. I have always said that I don't think, there's a lot of hardcore sort of automotive buffs that want to see something and read all about it and all that when it first came out, which is great for me because that plays into what I do. But I really believe that cars start to sell once other people see them on the street. So you might not be aware of the car, and then you see it and you go, what is that? Is that a new, that's a new, what is it? I'm going to find out more about it. Oh, honey, I saw a new blah, blah, blah. We should look into that. And I think seeing them on the road really helps sell them. The problem might be that it doesn't look too dissimilar to the rest of the Mazda family, so you might not even know it's new. I know, having had a chance to speak to the marketing people at Mazda head office, they have to help build awareness that the fact that it even exists. So for you to say it hasn't been selling particularly well, it only went on sale from what I believe in December. So it has only been on sale for just a couple of months. So you got to give it some time before you can really say whether or not it's been a success or not. AK, hey, hello from Montreal. When will we be seeing Chinese cars in Canada? Well, there are Chinese cars in Canada now. Dun, dun, dun. Do you know where they come? Which ones they are? There are Chinese cars in Canada now. Hey, Zach, do you currently drive, what do you currently drive these days? If looking for an all-wheel drive vehicle in Canada, would it be more favorable to get an SUV? I don't know. This week I'm driving the Kia Niro Electric. I have an old Tacoma. The other car we use for work and for pleasure is our Porsche Cayenne. If you're getting an all-wheel drive vehicle, you're going to have way more options with SUVs. And the thing is, SUV is such a wide envelope now, meaning vehicles that are really quite car-like and others that are really quite truck-like. For example, this Kia I'm driving this week really is just kind of like a hatchback car, where people would look at it like an SUV because it's kind of got that styling. So a lot of these small utility vehicles, these real true crossovers based on the CX-30 is a perfect example of that. The previous question about that. It's really more car-like than SUV-like. So if you're looking for an all-wheel drive vehicle, there are way more choices if you're looking at an SUV. Hey, Zach, why haven't you driven a Tesla yet? Would love to see you review the 2020 Model 3 and Model Y. I have driven a Tesla on the channel. You have to go look for it. I haven't driven those. You're right. Hey, Zach, you have mentioned the lack of press cars. Do you have a professional creed against reviewing cars located at dealerships like other less established professional car reviewers on YouTube? No, I don't. This is from Christy Shaw. I have done lots of work for car dealerships. The biggest car privately owned dealer chain in Canada is called the Dilawri Group, and I have done dozens and dozens and dozens of videos for car dealerships. And when I mean videos, I just take pictures of them and I talk about what the car has. It's not really a review, it's just kind of like a features and benefits thing, and they've used them for social media and things like that. So I have had lots of experience at dealerships. Plus some of the press cars we get, actually we pick up and drop off at car dealerships. BMW cars we get at Brian Jessel BMW, which is the biggest BMW dealership here in the country. All of the FCA cars we get at Richmond Chrysler, a big Chrysler dealer. So we are in dealerships regularly anyway. Did you ever drive review the Pontiac Aztek? Saw one today, as rare as ever. I never did. I remember, I made fun of it like everybody else. Here's the interesting thing. If you look at any owner forums around the Pontiac Aztek, people that own them absolutely love them. Like, there was no ambiguity about it. They didn't think these cars were just okay. They thought they were fantastic. And the execution of the styling was poorly done, but the idea of the Aztek and sort of the Swiss Army knife utility that can do a little bit of everything, it was way ahead of its time if you think about it. The one I like is the one you could get the big tent that went on the back of it. I mean, people who had them absolutely love them. Hey, Zach, which of the compact cars have the most responsive automatic transmission, i.e. when you step on the gas, there's no lag? Well, it's not so much about the automatic transmission, it's about the engine, okay? So when you're looking at compact cars, probably it's got more to do with the engine. Transmission plays into it as well. I would say the Mazda Mazda 3 is a very good little car. You don't need to go for the 2.5-liter four-cylinder. The 2-liter is just fine. That's a pretty good little car. I would say the Golf is pretty good. Same thing, turbocharged four-cylinder. Not the Mazda isn't turbocharged. The Golf is turbocharged four-cylinder with a regular 8-speed automatic transmission. That's not a bad vehicle. So when you get into the CVT side, so now you're talking about Corolla, you're talking about Civic, you're talking about a long list of them. Now, some brands have tried to mitigate the whole CVT-ness, I call it. Toyota, for example, with Corolla, first gear is an actual gear, and then that moves out of the way and it switches over to the CVT. So that's kind of an interesting technology. And as I mentioned, like the Forte and the Elantra have a chain-driven CVT, which is much more responsive. To the point when I drove the Forte, I was like, you'd be hard-pressed to know this is a CVT. So the real test is driving them on what you like. But I always have sort of two camps for these vehicles, ones that are sort of more fun to drive, more dynamic, and then ones that are just sort of basic transportation. I would put the Mazda and the Golf and in that camp, in the more fun to drive camp. It's a shame that people aren't buying sedans. They are so good these days. You got that right. There are so many good sedans out there, and there are some really good deals to be had. You start looking at categories of cars that people aren't buying in big numbers, mid-size sedans. So you have Camry, Accord, and then everybody else. If you start shopping in the everybody else camp, there's a lot of really good cars in there that you can get some good deals on because people just aren't shopping for mid-size sedans. That's where it comes into Car Cost Canada again. Pick a car like a Mazda 6. Is a perfect example of one of the best sedans you can buy that nobody's buying, and you can probably get a great deal on one every month. Did Tetzlaff ever explain to you why VW decided to get rid of the buttons on the new Golf? That's a real deal breaker for a lot of people. Just look at Honda. So he's referring to Thomas Tetzlaff, who is the head of PR for Volkswagen Canada. I got a chance to drive late last year, December, the all-new Mark 8 Golf. There's a review on the channel. You can watch the video. And Volkswagen has gotten away from a lot of buttons on the new generation Golf, which will be arriving here in North America next summer, not this summer, summer of 2021. And they got rid of the volume knob. No, I asked him, and I said, I disagree. I said, other brands have made the mistake and they've been forced to bring the volume knob back. Honda is a perfect example. They took the volume knob out of many of their vehicles, and now they've returned them all into the latest models. It's just a simple thing. I totally agree with you. I pointed it out when I did the review, and I think that a lot of brands are trying to go to this really sleek, streamlined sort of look. Frankly, they're all just chasing what Tesla's come out with, everything done through a screen. But I don't think average people really like having no tactile buttons. There are a few that are kind of a must, and in my opinion, it's a volume knob. They might learn and have to go back and change it. Would you buy a Stinger GT as a long-term purchase? Something about the complexity of a twin-turbo engine doesn't scream longevity. Well, one of the things is that you have, you've kind of got to go out there at some point. I mean, there's going to be so few options that are not turbocharged any longer, have a naturally aspirated engines. One, for example, if you wanted to get a V6 powered naturally aspirated engine, would be like a Camry V6. I mean, buy it, drive it forever. I mean, just look after it. It'll run for a long, long time. So yeah, the complexity of a twin turbo is there, but as we go along and more engines are getting turbocharged, there's going to be fewer and fewer to choose from. Somebody just said, hey, what about Charlottetown Spud as a good handle? That is another one, Charlottetown Spud. I don't think it's number 3. I do have DJ Pleasure Seeking Missile is number 1 handle. Huge Haggis definitely is number 2. And I only say DJ Pleasure Seeking because he's been around longer. But yeah, hey, we have another super chat here. Peak Time Racing. Thoughts on a used 2016 Mercedes-Benz C450? So that was kind of an in-betweener car. I liked it. Actually, the one I drove when the C-Class first came out with this new model, the latest model, was that exact car. So if you go back and you watch the review I did, I believe the car was white. If you're looking for the thumbnail, it was a white one. I liked it. So you think about this. What you're really getting with that car is the C43 AMG version. So Mercedes-Benz, like BMW, has really hoored out their naming structure. So now everything is an AMG that isn't the base engine. And just like with BMW, everything is M that isn't the base engine. So that was only sold for, I think, a year or so. So it's actually a really nice little sweet spot for that car. Then they came out with the C43 AMG. So if that's the model I'm thinking of, and I think it is 2016, a really nice car. So make sure you get it inspected, make sure you get a Carfax report, and please, if you can get it under warranty, try that. But that is a really nice car. And go and watch the old review from when I first got my hands on it. If we were in an apocalyptic world, what one watch would you have? We are an apocalyptic world. What the hell? Now, people are asking questions about watches because I have another channel called Watch This where I talk about watches. So I have my Zodiac Seawolf on right now. What one apocalyptic watch would I have? It'd probably be a Rolex because they're just so well made and they last forever. And you could probably not even service one for 20 years and keep going. James says, I sold cars for 10 years. I love helping friends buy cars. I bet you are like you're like a secret weapon when you go in to buy a car, because I would love to go and put a camera on you and go into a dealer and say, here's all the things that you don't say, and here's all the things you do say. And also that conversation you get when you go into the business office. So there's this, this is the classic case of how you buy a car these days. You speak to the sales guy, then the sales guy says, I gotta go and talk to my sales manager. So he runs and he goes, oh, I got a live one, boss. I can get this. What kind of deal can we do? So they figure out a price to come back to you on. You go, okay, I'll take that price. Then this guy walks down the hall and hands you off to this guy. This is the business manager. Business manager, also code name for another salesman. So he sold you the car. Now he's or her is trying to sell you all of the extras, all of the goodies, undercoating, rust proofing, paint protection, warranties, all that kind of stuff. So having James go in to the dealer with you would be fantastic. And I hope, James, you go in there and you don't say that you sold cars. You just play dumb and go, oh, really? That would be fun to watch. Non-German 7-seater with good boot space. 7-seater non-German. I would say, I think the gold standard in this sort of 7-seater SUV, in my opinion, is the Toyota Highlander. I've gotten so many people into the Highlander and they just love them because they work. I'm looking to Jeep Wrangler 4-door, will mostly be driving in the city, but planning for off-road over the weekend as a new hobby. Confused with Sierra or Rubicon. Also, will diesel be a good option? Now, how hardcore off-road are you gonna go? And do you really need to have the extra lockers with the Rubicon? I would suggest, if you're gonna do it regularly, like if you're gonna go a couple of times a month and go off-roading, probably not a bad idea to get the Rubicon, because what you get is the low crawling ratios for the transfer case, and you get the locking differentials, and you also get the better tires from the factory. You can buy those for your regular Wrangler anyway, but those are the things that really are going to help you get unstuck or stuck, if you think about it. So if you can afford it, Rubicon's never going to be a bad vehicle to sell. There's always going to be people that want a used Rubicon, so that's a good way to go. Now the diesel. The diesel's going to give you great low-end torque. So if you do go for the Rubicon and you do get the low gear ratio, that you want the low-end torque for just crawling over rocks and things, it might not be a bad way to go. What I would suggest is, don't take my word for it. I would go on a Jeep Wrangler web forum. Just type in Jeep Wrangler web forum and you'll find the one for the current model and see what other people who do a lot of off-roading say about it. And there's probably off-roading forums as well. And there's certainly plenty of Jeep guys that do this. So that's what I would suggest. If it was me, just for, because I like diesels, I would get the diesel, but see what other people say. Master Debater. That's a good one too. I don't think it's number 3. Master Debater's pretty good. Thoughts on the new Michelin Premier all-season tires, a year-round tire. Notice Jason from Engineering explaining is giving them a shot. I live in Ontario. I don't really know much about that specific tire. I'm sorry. Hey, Zach, first time on chat. However, I've been watching you for 15 years on driving television and also on this channel. Big fan of Brian Tong as well. I think you mean Brian Chow. So just so you know, Mervyn, I've switched TV shows. I am now on Motoring TV on TSN. Okay? Here, I'm going to put that as show. This says, sorry, it's moved around on me again. I apologize. Been following these live shows for a while, and while most of your reviews are at home, but now your total subscribers is stuck at 134,000. Most viewers should subscribe. I'm subscribed. Well, thank you. If you haven't subscribed to the channel and you're watching this, click the subscribe and the notification to find out when we're going live again. Oh, just so you know, it's Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. I'll be doing these live chats at the same time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays until we're all out of quarantine. But yeah, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And please tell your friends. The channel, for whatever Google algorithm wizards there are out there, you get into these, having been on YouTube now for about 10 years, you go through these ebbs and cycles and you're basically at the mercy of the Google algorithm. So you have times where everything is just firing on all cylinders and then it goes like overnight. It'll just slow right down. They've changed something in their algorithm and you try to figure it out and then you basically just wait it out and then things pick up again. Right now, we're going through one of those downturns and I'm not sure why. As per your advice, I waited until April to purchase the new Honda Passport. I got $4,100 below dealer cost. Wow. Only know that because of Car Cost Canada. Thanks. That is impressive. All right. So if you're watching this, there's firsthand anecdotal evidence that Car Cost Canada works. So go to Car Cost Canada, sign up, use the promo code MOTORMOUTH, the name of this channel. It unlocks more free basically searches for you. So there's a perfect example. He got $4,100 below dealer cost. And the only reason he knew about it is because of Car Cost Canada. So here is a perfect probably scenario is that the Passport has not sold well for Honda. They brought it out, and I don't think it's selling very well. I even said when I was at the launch talking to the head of product planning, I said, I think it's overpriced. And obviously, they're having to discount it heavily to move them off the lot. So that's a perfect example. And when you hear people say, oh, you know, Toyota and Honda, they never discount. Oh, yeah? Trust me, if a car's not moving, there's discounts. Yale says, I just watched YouTube reboot of the 2011 launch of the Cayman R and Porsche headquarters in Germany. Something special if anybody is interested. All right, that's cool. Check that out. Do you think cars are going to get cheaper in the coming months because of COVID? Yes, cars are going to get cheaper. Everybody is going to have to market. I'll give you a little crystal ball into what I think is going to happen. We are in this much worse than they know recession. I think like they just opened the portal yesterday for people to sign up for the emergency government money. This is in Canada. In the United States, they're getting money out the door to people who need it as well. So in Canada, they just opened that portal up yesterday. I think by the time it's all said and done, once all Canadians that need that extra emergency money have signed up, it's going to be way more than they thought. And I think that they're going to have a hard time getting the emergency response money out to keep businesses afloat. Unfortunately, I think a lot of businesses are going to go out of business. They're not going to be able to pay their bills. And when this starts to, when we start to be able to leave our house and go out and function sort of semi-normally in the months to come, the recovery isn't going to be quick. Like it was very quick coming down. I don't think it's going to be quick coming up. I think we're going to bubble along the bottom of this recession for a while. Governments are going to have to jack in even more money. And I think that for the car industry, they are going to have to put their best foot forward when it comes to incentives. So the factories will start again producing cars. The employees will be brought back to factories. They're going to have sanitation stations and social distancing, and everybody will be covered with rubber gloves and masks and you name it. That's how they're going to have to make cars once we get people back into workplaces. But manufacturers are going to have to put their best foot forward when it comes to marketing their cars. And that means the best way to get people to spend money, those that can spend, because as I mentioned, there's going to be a whole lot of people who can't, maybe been out of work for too long. The business that they were hired at before is now out of business. That business has to pay off a whole bunch of bills and can't, you know what I mean? It's going to be, I don't think we're going to get out of this very quickly. We're going to bumble along here at the bottom and then slowly start to build up again. Now we will get improved economy, but the best way to get people who can buy cars, and those are the people who have regular jobs that they're guaranteed, like seniors are on retirement income and it's sort of guaranteed if they have a pension. Civil servants, of course, that are getting paid regularly by the government, firefighters, nurses, doctors, all the people that are continuing to get paid. If you're in the market for a car, the world will be your oyster in the next few months. The only way you're going to know what all of the best deals are is to go to carcostcanada.com, sign up using the promo code MotorMouth, the name of the channel, get the extra searches done, and there's going to be all kinds of incentives. All right, we have another super chat from George. My question, you've mentioned getting a used car inspected. Is it possible when looking at a certified pre-owned car like an A4? Okay, this is George, thank you very much for supporting the channel, and people are doing the super chat where you pay to get your question bumped up to the top here. So Mervyn, George, thank you for that. This is a very good question. So you go to a dealership, in this case it's an Audi A4. Hey, we've got a 2-year-old, it's a 2018 A4 sitting here. It's certified pre-owned and you don't need to get it inspected. We've already inspected it. It's gone through our certification process and now qualifies for a 2-year extra bumper-to-bumper warranty. That's all good. What they don't tell you with the pre-purchase inspection is everything. I would still, if I was buying any used vehicle, for the $150, $200 it's going to cost you to get the vehicle inspected, get that dealership to send it, for example, we'll pick Bob's Audi. They've got the A4 for sale. Get them to send it over to Sally's Audi. Make sure they're not owned by the same company. They will drive the car over there. You pay Sally's Audi to do what's called a pre-purchase inspection. It's going to cost you about $150, $200. They put the car on the hoist, they check it all out. They're going to give you a real state of affairs when it comes to that vehicle. Where the brakes are, where the tires are, where the muffler is, where everything is when it comes to that. You paid for it. You're the only one. So Sally's Audi sends it to you either on a document and you can read it and say, this is good, this is good, this is good. Oh, by the way, we found a leak here. You then go back to the original Audi dealership and say, hey, there's a few issues with this car. Either you're going to fix them or you're going to give me an even better deal. For what it costs, you're buying a multi-$1,000 car, spend the few $100s extra to get a pre-purchase inspection and the time it's going to take to get it done. That's my advice. If you can get it done, have at it. Where are we here? David T says, with all due respect, too many live streams. You are oversaturating. Well, what do you guys say? Here's the thing is, David, if you don't want to watch the live streams, nobody's forcing you to. Don't watch them if you don't want them. I have received lots of feedback from other people saying thank you because we have not much else to do. So you guys write in what you think. If you don't want to watch the live streams, don't watch them. No one's forcing you to. Watch one a week. Invoice versus MSRP. What is the average difference as above 4,500, below dealer cost? Explain. Dealer cost was 75,000, by the way. Any guesses? Okay, I am going to quickly look up an email I got from Jim Matthews. Jim Matthews, by the way, is one of the owners of Car Cost Canada. Let me find it here. I sent him this very question, and because someone had asked, what is the typical difference between dealer invoice and MSRP? Okay, so he wrote back, in terms of typical gap between MSRP and dealer cost, the answer is not so easy because of the incentive factors at play. So this is Jim Matthews, the president and one of the owners of Car Cost Canada. Depending on the type of vehicle and the brand of the vehicle, markups, i.e. difference between the MSRP and dealer costs, are between 6 and 11%. However, when the OEM, that's the manufacturer, provides a factory to dealer incentive on the vehicle, let's say $1,500, it can add 1 to 2% on the actual markup during the incentive period. Currently, there is $10,000 plus on some domestic trucks and would affect the markup by an additional 10% depending on the price of the truck. So that's right from Jim Matthews. Hopefully that explains it, because that's what he does all day. Oh, you know what? This is Brian. This is HK coming back on Brian. Somebody was asking for a fun car to drive under $30,000 that is kind of fun to drive. The Acura ILX. And that is a very fun, it's actually interesting you mentioned that. I was walking my dog with my wife today, and I went and walked past a really nice looking white Acura ILX A-Spec, and I was like, that is a fun car to drive. It really is. Basically what you have with the ILX is the Honda Civic Si, the older Honda Civic Si. And it has a dual clutch automatic transmission, no CVT, no manual either, but the dual clutch is good. The engine is fantastic. It's one of the best engines they made and has 200 horsepower and is a lot of fun to drive. Other negatives? Yeah, the head unit is old and you know, to get the most power it needs premium gas, but miles per mile, you're not paying a lot for that car, and you can probably, once again, get a great deal on one. And he's also saying, Brian is writing back and said, I also consider the Mercedes A-Class, A250 hatch, the 220 sedan, but the price goes up quickly when you add on the bells and whistles. Well, you got that right. That's premium car market. Don't suck you in with the base price and then jack up all the add-ons. Any thoughts on real estate market in Toronto, Vancouver after this pandemic? Should I own a property or drive a cool car? Well, I can just tell you, the vast majority of people gain wealth in their life due to one thing: real estate. Real estate has been the key for generation after generation of accruing long-term wealth. Now, if you're just in it for a short term, yeah, you could get clobbered. You could buy and the house can go way down in price, or the condo or whatever you're buying. I think smart people will be in the marketplace here in the next little while, picking up some deals. You always want to buy an asset from somebody that is over leveraged and can't pay for it. For example, lots of people bought condos and stuck them into the Airbnb fleet and we're renting them out as Airbnbs. Well, the Airbnb market is down to zero. I read an article today that the Vancouver airport where I live, one of the major international airports here in Canada, air travel is down by 96%. Air travel is down by 96%. That means people aren't looking for hotels, and they're certainly not looking for Airbnbs, and the Airbnb market is not coming back anytime soon. So all of those people that bought condos, that were renting them out week after week, month after month, making thousands of dollars, now have no income. So yeah, they can put them into the regular rental fleet pool, I should say, and get a renter to pay whatever it costs to rent an apartment these days. But there will be people that are over leveraged and need to sell. That's when you get a good deal. My opinion, long term, through your life, not talking 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, through your life, real estate has always been a good investment. Not cars. There's very few cars that go up in value, very few, maybe a handful. Vintage Ferraris, vintage Porsches, that's about it. I would want to test drive some cars, but I always feel like I'm wasting the salesperson's time. If you feel that way, don't. That is their job. And if the salesperson makes you feel that way, then move on to a different dealership. I always tell people, look at car dealerships like a shoe store, okay? You wouldn't walk into the mall, go to a shoe store and try on a pair of shoes and they don't fit, they pinch the side of your toes, you walk around the store and you're like, this doesn't feel good. You wouldn't buy them anyway or feel intimidated. You would just go, I don't like these shoes. You walk out of that shoe store, you walk down the mall to the next shoe store and you look for a pair of shoes there. It's the same thing with car dealerships. Just look at car dealerships like shoe stores, and all of those cars are like shoes. If it doesn't fit, move on and go to the next dealership. People get so intimidated by car dealerships and salespeople. It's just look at them like shoes. If it doesn't fit and the salesperson isn't a good fit and they don't treat you well, why would you continue to give them your business? The good dealerships that invested in training in their sales personnel will welcome you into their dealership and say, what's your name? F181234. I don't know what your name is. They would say, hey, F18, want to go for a drive in this car? Yeah, let's go. And one thing I always suggest to people, when you go into a car dealership, if you're not buying a car, just say to them, I'm not here to buy a car. I just want to look and I want to try. I'm not going to be buying a car today. If that person continues to give you service, that is a good salesperson, because that person is investing in the relationship between you and him or her. And then when it comes time to buy and you like that relationship, you're much more inclined to go back to the person that treated you with respect, took you for a test drive, and gave you first-class service even when you said, I'm not buying a car. So try that instead. Go in, don't feel intimidated. They're not cars, they're just shoes. And say to them, I'm not here to buy a car today or a pair of shoes. I just want to try them on. And if they treat you with respect and they take you out for a test drive, now you got a relationship. It's a long way to answer that one. The reason I have this analogy is I wrote a book. Where's my book? It's up there somewhere. I wrote a book, Canadian Car Buying Guide. I got to, there's always a long list of things I got to do. I got to take the chapters like on buying cars and put them on my website so people can read them. That's one analogy I used. It's funny, James, the guy I was telling you about who used to be a salesman, just wrote underneath that last comment and said, hey, F18, a good salesman will know that a buyer may not be able to buy today, but building a relationship is their job. One day you will buy, hopefully, from them. There you go, James. James, we got to get together and have a beer. I'd love to pick your brain about this stuff. Let me see where this is jumping around on me again. James just asked, is that a 959 on your desk? No, it's an old Carrera from the 70s. They called these long noses. So that's from the 70s. I bought this car in a toy store when I was a kid in Scotland. And I've had it ever since. My son says to me, how come it's not scratched? I don't know. Who made it anyway? It's made in Italy. Anyway, I always knew I was a Porsche fan from way back then. What do you think is better, the new Corvette or the Boxster? They're so different. They're just so different. You know me, I just picked up a Porsche. I'm going to say Porsche all day long. Hi, Zach. What's your opinion between front-wheel drive front wheel bias all-wheel drive and rear wheel drive all-wheel drive bias systems. Can you give a shout out to my daughter Kaylee? Hey Kaylee, it's her birthday today. Thanks, love the show, stay safe. Well John, hi to Kaylee, happy birthday. It's interesting, you know, I said to my son whose birthday was just over a week ago, I said, this is a birthday you won't forget. Like he just turned 15. I said, you will always remember your 15th birthday. What was going on in the world. I mean, for kids, this is like, you know, I'm not a teenager or a kid. I'm going to remember this for the rest of my life, being stuck, quarantined. For kids, this will be a defining part of their life, to be honest with you, what we're going through today. What's your opinion between front wheel bias, all-wheel drive systems and rear wheel? I prefer rear wheel bias systems, more performance oriented, but front wheel systems, some of them are better than others. So what you have, here's the thing, one of the big things between a rear wheel and a front wheel drive system is rear wheel drive systems, for the most part, still have some power going to the front. So typically under light load driving in summer conditions, we still have maybe 5%, 10% of the power still going to the front wheels. With a lot of the front wheel bias systems, they switch off the rear wheels altogether. They have a disconnect. Often there's a clutch pack at the back between the drive shaft that goes to the rear and the rear differential, and it disconnects so that the wheels in the back are spinning freely and there's no loss from spinning the wheels from the engine. So they drive the front wheels as often as possible on their own to affect fuel economy. And then when things change, sometimes it's when the windshield wipers are on, sometimes it's when the temperature drops, and then obviously when the ABS sensors detect slip, that clutch pack re-engages and sends power to the rear wheels. So I prefer rear wheel drive because most of the time it's still sending power to the front wheels and can shift that torque to the front much quicker than a system that has the front wheels getting all of the power and the rear mechanically disconnected. That's one way to look at it. Funny that you mentioned the Mazda 6 that have good deals. Bought a new 19 GS trim. GS, that's a really nice car, using Car Cost Canada and paid $6,000 below MSRP. Great car for a great price. It came out cheaper than compact cars. Boom, there you go. You guys are writing the script for me. Car Cost Canada. Use Car Cost Canada. Tell your friends. Anybody's buying a car, hey, say, I got a tip for you. Have you ever tried Car Cost Canada? Use the promo code MOTORMOUTH and there you go. I just want to say, oh, by the way, Peak Time Racing said, yes, it's the car I was referencing, the C-Class, the C450. They only made it for 1 year before replacing it with the C43. So that is a pretty cool car. It is basically a C43 without the C43 badge. Thanks to everybody. We're running out of time. Tell your friends about the channel, subscribe. I'll see you here on Thursday. We'll pick up all of these questions again. I don't get to all the questions. I do read them all. And I'm going for dinner now. So I will chat with you on Thursday. And keep watching. Take care.